much is trauma showing up in parenting right now? It seems like a massive question, and it seems like one that I felt I should jump on here and maybe explore with you a bit today, because the this is a very strange time in our history, and different times, uncertainty, when things are feeling as if they are out of control and we don't have a roadmap for it, it can and will, in fact, not can, but will trigger past traumas that we have lived through that feel similar to what is going on now. Now, none of us have lived through exactly this same time. This is unique in the history of the world. There have, of course, been other terrible illnesses and pandemics and things like that in the past, but they wouldn't have been in the same circumstances. They wouldn't have had 24/7 social media. They wouldn't have had people giving us repetitive updates, all the statistics. So much is different about this time. So it's really important to and this is the hard bit, but to tune into ourselves and how we are reacting and responding. And it might not be the obvious stuff. It might be the deep down inside. How am I actually feeling about this? What are the repetitive thoughts that I'm having? Am I finding myself quite a lot of the time just zoning out? So as we all have had, there is no one gets to adulthood without having experienced some level or kind of trauma in their childhood. So that's every single one of us on the planet. And it might be very small, it might have been very low level, it might have been some of the really obvious stuff. Who knows? And to be honest, going back and kind of digging it out and identifying it, sometimes identifying it because we just have no idea. We just look at ourselves now, particularly as parents, and think, oh my goodness, I'm really failing at this, or I get so frustrated because I don't want to behave like that, and yet I always do. So sometimes, which I do a great deal with my clients, is we just join up dots. So not to go back and be mean to anyone or accuse anyone unless that's helpful to do, although generally it's not. But it can make sense of how our system is wired to kind of pattern match, because our survival system in our body particularly, and in the lower part of our brain, is only interested in preserving life. Thank goodness. Woohoo! Otherwise we wouldn't all be here. So in a situation as we're going through now, it will be trying really, really, really hard all the time to match subconsciously. Does this feel like something that I've lived through before? And flicking us into states of being, emotional states, reactions, reactivity that may be something from way back in our history that right now our brain and body and emotions have just gone, it's an emergency. This is an emergency. We're under threat. Danger, danger, danger. And then, of course, it shows up in our parenting. So however hard we might try and push these funny things that are kicking off inside of us down, it may be, and of course it won't be for everyone, but it may be that we're beginning to have less calmness inside of us, less availability to have those little emotional connections with our children. And it may just be that, emotionally and physically we're getting more and more exhausted. And certainly that's what I'm being told by a lot of people. I'm being messaged, I'm being contacted by in sessions I'm doing, is that, parents understandably are sinking under the burden of these bizarre times that we're living in, and then being actually pretty mean to themselves, feeling very like they're failing. They see all these wonderful pictures on Facebook of all this perfect family life, which I can't imagine, apart from the photograph, is an ongoing thing for many people, unless they have, I don't know, magic wands in abundance. But, you know, that can add to the feeling of, well, this is something wrong with me and I'm failing my children. Why can't I be better at this? And, you know, we're not meant to be on our own doing these things. So you might have a partner, who is really trying also to manage the way their trauma is being switched on and activated and kind of dragged through the process that we're going through at the time. So they may or may not be as emotionally available to you and the children as they normally are. And you know, one of the very moving things in the program that I've just run, the Crisis to Calm Parents Coaching Program, it's a bit of a long title, that I've just run with a group of parents, is how many people showed up as couples. You know, those who are in couples, not all of us are. Yeah, they showed up together. And then when we would have the discussions, you know, both parents were putting in their perspective, sharing things that they were finding were really working together as a couple and that they were able to take and use, and also things that individually they were maybe struggling with. But you know, it was a real joy to see this kind of, okay, this is a really difficult time that none of us had a plan for, but actually we're coming together and we're going to figure this out. And I do wonder if I had just regularly, before all of this, put up a program that couples might have turned up. That, of course, I will never know. But you know, certainly having someone that you can bounce all this stuff off is great, because you know, we're literally, if you are at home with your family, you are the team. You are the team for this. So knowing that, okay, these are the very real things emotionally I am struggling with, and I can see keep showing up in the way that I'm not dealing very comfortably with that with my children, or you know, there's a pattern going on here and I can't figure it out because I know I don't want to do it, and yet I keep seeing and hearing and feeling myself getting pulled in the same direction. How can this be a thing? Because I'm very conscious afterwards of what I've done, and sometimes even going into it. So I suppose my message to you is that there will be a reason for it. There will be a reason for it, which you may or may not be able to link up, but you shouldn't be on your own with it. And the last thing that any of us want for anyone right now is to feel even worse than we possibly can. So if you know, taking an active part in this page is really useful, there are so many videos here. You know, have a bit of a scroll through. That one might just jump out at you now that previously it hadn't really clicked with you. But in these very different times we're in, you might just see one and think, oh, actually, now that feels a lot more relevant. Then, you know, watch it. Maybe you can invite, if you have another half, to watch it with you and just have a little bit of a chat afterwards, a really open chat, you know, nobody accusing anybody, but just using a third party, if you like, being me, to look at, get some information, and then have an opinion and you know, a little bit of a chat about. Or it might be that as a couple you think, you know what, we have got some time on our hands right now. So yeah, I'm going to jump on that program. It'll be running again next week, so starting the 20th on the Monday, and then a new program, but the same content, will be running the following Monday, the 27th. So click the link, have a look. Any questions, ping them through to me. But please don't feel like you have to kind of struggle on through this on your own. The program's only $25.99 for the whole thing. And what people were saying to me who've just been on it is that they loved hearing from the other parents, learning from them, but also realizing, so other people are struggling with this too. And we, you know, even in the space of a week, we created a really powerful little community, which we're now going to carry forward. So remember, you definitely are doing your best. And be aware that it may very well be stuff that you've previously lived through, but you just haven't identified, that is making your parenting so hard right now. So take extra special care of yourselves, and I look forward to catching up with you again soon.